Welcome to the Andy Dare Show. This is episode 24. This week I'm joined by DJ Pizzo, founder and president of hiphopsite.com. We talk about him being on the forefront of the independent hip-hop boom of the late 90s and just how much the music industry has changed since then. Talk about a whole lot of interesting stuff, so be sure to tune in. All right, thank you so much for tuning in to the 24th episode of the Andy Dare Show. I'm your host, Andy Dare, and today I have the pleasure and fortune of interviewing DJ Pizzo of hiphopsite.com. How you doing, man?
I'm good, man. Thank you for having me.
Hey, no problem. Yeah, I was just talking about on my last episode how I've been like a music addict since about like 95, and pretty much when like the independent hip-hop boom of the late 90s hit, I was kind of stuck in the dark being out in the suburbs of Chicago, and pretty much had to use your site. You guys, I was a musical addict, but you guys were probably enablers in pretty much allowing me to find out all these new records and new artists to look for, so I really thank you for that, man.
No problem.
Yeah, if my listeners want to find out more about you, where should they go on the internet?
Definitely go to hiphopsite.com, and you can also check out djpizzo.com, which is basically my own personal website.
And yeah, if they want to follow you on Twitter, where should they check you out at?
Twitter is at djpizzohhs.
Awesome.
And then if you're really stocky, you can look me up on Facebook.
Oh, right. And Hip Hop Site was founded in like 1996, am I correct?
Yeah, right at the tail end of 96, like around October, so we're just coming up on the anniversary again. And yeah, basically we kind of, at that time, we saw like a change in the way hip-hop was being covered in the press and the radio and all that. And we were just so like fed up because, you know, only like 3 years earlier, you had like really great hip hop like being played on the radio, on TV, and we were just like seeing all this stuff get overlooked or like underrated. So we just decided, you know what, there needs to be some kind of outlet because we don't like the direction that the music's going, you know.
Yeah, I got you.
So we just decided to like do our own thing, and it was really kind of an answer to like basically like what the source was doing, the direction the source was moving in, you know. We wanted to kind of like make sure that quote unquote real hip hop was still being covered, you know.
Gotcha, that's very awesome. You got anything planned for the big 15th anniversary?
No. I wish I could say that I did, but I mean at this point hip hop site's a labor of love because it used to be like a full-fledged business when we had like the record store, but at this point, it just exists as a blog because, you know, there's really no way to like make money in the music industry unless you're an entertainer of some kind, you know.
Yeah, very true.
And so, I mean, we will look into advertising eventually once we get our traffic to numbers where it would matter. But at this point, like, it's just something that I do to like keep myself up on the game and really everybody else as well. Yeah,
I got you, and that's an important thing as well. I know you guys had a physical store, and from what years and where was it at?
That was located at 4700 South Maryland Parkway, right across from UNLV, as we used to say, and it basically ran 2002 to 2007, I believe, and basically that doubled as our base of operations. So we filled all the orders out of there, and it just kind of blossomed into that because I was doing everything I started out in my parents' garage, and then I moved. I like bought my own house, and I used that as a house/office, and then it just kept getting bigger and bigger, and then we just said, you know what, let's get into a store, because we had people calling and wanting to come over to my house to buy records, you know. So it was, you know, let's go ahead and take this a step further, you know. So
that's awesome. Well, I hear that you're still out in Vegas doing the DJing thing, and where did you exactly grow up, and what were like your earliest like musical influences?
Well, I grew up in Vegas. I was born in upstate New York in Rochester, but I moved out here when I was like 1 year old. And I'd say like early musical influence would be like Michael Jackson, Thriller, the birth of MTV, like basically just watching I just watched MTV like all day long. I love like Duran Duran, and I watched like a lot of and there was not really any hip hop on MTV when it first started, but I basically just watched MTV like all day, So I was watching like Van Halen videos and Billy Idol and all this stuff, and pretty much whatever they were like feeding me, I was like into.
Hmm.
And then when Yo came out, that like changed everything, Like I remember seeing Special Ed. It's either like I think it was I Got It Made. It was a video where he has the hovercraft, and thinking like this is the coolest thing I've ever seen.
Yeah.
That, and then in Public Enemy, Black Steel and Hour Chaos. Seeing the those two videos like changed my whole like musical outlook. And
Yeah, I remember that video was almost scary to, a suburban teenager at the time, guy in a cell just talking about how he's going to escape.
Yeah, it was awesome. It was like the coolest thing I'd ever seen. Like I'm like looking at this guy, he's like basically doesn't want to go to war, so he starts a prison riot. I was like looking at this thing when I was in like 6th grade going, oh my God, this is so cool,
And the mind is blown at that point, man. So how about like your first DJing experience? I know you've been making your living doing that now, but was this something that you did even as like a teenager, or is this more of a newer thing for you?
Well, no. This is something I've been doing even prior to Hip Hop Site. And if Hip Hop Site never came along, I may have been doing that all along. Actually, I had been, but it was just something that I did as kind of for fun. You know what I mean? Like, basically, the way everything started was there's a radio show called Word Up, and this was on KUNV, which is UNLV's radio station, and the show is hosted by Warren Peace. Warren is the co-founder of Hip Hop Site. So basically, I used to listen to this show when I was in like 7th and 8th grade because Warren was like really on to the next shit. He was playing like he was playing like B-sides and remixes and he would say like, I have new Big Daddy Kane. I was, the first time I heard that, I was like, oh, okay, yeah, he's going to play like I Get the Job Done. And what he did instead is he played like a B-side remix. And I was like, whoa, like this guy's playing stuff that like nobody has,
Yeah.
So I got addicted to listening to the show, and then like I was like so obsessed with the show that I like wanted to go up there and hear the show and like see it happen, So like I like found a way down there, and then like as like the years went by, I was basically like Warren's understudy, and I kind of let me think. So basically when I got about 18, I got some turntables. And I really wanted to get vinyl because vinyl had all the exclusive songs, you know what I mean, all the remixes and B-sides and all this stuff. So
Oh yeah.
About 18 is when I like started getting the records and getting vinyl, and by about 19 or 20, and that was around the same time we started Hip Hop Site, which was an offshoot of basically the Word Up show. He was like, yo, why don't you come do the show with me? Because I was bringing him all this stuff that he wasn't even up on, like, and that was basically the whole indie hip hop movement, the Most Defs, the Company Flows, and all that stuff.
Of course, yeah. So you've always been a collector of the music too?
Yeah, I mean, I've got like 2 walls of vinyl in my home, so.
Nice. Yeah, I figured you'd have a deep stash.
Yeah.
Yeah, my childhood record store just is closing its doors after 28 years on Saturday, so I'm going to go get a picture with the owner. I actually worked with him for 3 years after high school, so definitely had that same thing going on of just being in awe of the music. And I mean, even though he's an old Italian guy, he was always up on what was next in hip hop too, and would be sure to stock that in the store. So it was important about getting all the different influences at the same time. So did he put you on the air for the first time? Is that true? Is Warren Peace, he put you on the air, or?
Yeah, he did. He put me on the air, and probably. Well, actually, there's an embarrassing story that when I was in 7th grade, I was like a 7th grade kid, and I was like, I want to rap. So basically, and I don't think I've ever told this story before. So basically, I'm like sitting at home, like writing this like rap filled with metaphors, because like I felt like that's all you needed to be like a dope MC.
Yeah.
So like I wrote this rap with like all like every line is a metaphor, and so basically I was like, okay, I'm gonna go rap on Warren's show, because he would have these freestyle sessions with all these local MCs, and I was like, okay, I'm gonna kill this.
Hmm.
So like I go up and like I do the rap, and like it's like completely unexciting. It's just kind of like people are just kind of like, okay. And then these other dudes come and they're like they're not even like signed or anything, but they're at least like seasoned MCs that like just rap at home. And these dudes just like come in and like are rapping like with DOS effects with just like crazy style, and just they're all over the place. And I was just like, oh. And then I was like, all right, I'm done.
You got served, kind of.
Yeah, pretty much. So then, a couple of years later, I didn't think like, well, I can't rap, so I'm going to be a DJ. It was more like, I didn't really even think I was going to become a DJ. I was just like wanted to get the music, so I started collecting the vinyl, and then eventually, a couple of years later, he asked me when I decided I didn't want to rap on his radio show anymore.
Yeah.
He decided it was safe to ask me to, join the show as a DJ.
Yeah, I got some DJ friends myself, and they would always say like the best feeling for a DJ is when somebody comes up to the booth and says, "What was that you just played?" And then you get to spread the knowledge that way. Do you like that feeling as well? Or?
Yeah, I actually just did a supper club in Los Angeles on Friday, and a couple of the staff were just like, "Yo, what were you playing? That was like so crazy. We were playing like all this, like they're like people just come in here and play like mainstream, you know what I mean?"
Yeah.
And they're like, "You went crazy hard, So, and I mean, like when I spin out, I play a lot of house.
Sure.
And the reason I like to play house is because at this point it reminds me of playing hip hop on Word Up, because there's a lot of stuff that is underground that isn't known, that isn't like the mainstream part of me, and it is like creative and it's like you don't have to necessarily stick to the script, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so I kind of appreciate that.
Well, like early '90s, like the Native Tongue stuff would like to mix some of the house in, early Jungle Brothers, some of that
Yeah.
Tribe Called Quest stuff.
Hip house, yes.
Yeah. So very important to
Yeah.
your forming, I'm sure. But
Yeah, a little bit. I actually thought that was kind of, I never really liked it. Like I thought it was a little bit cheesy, but what I did like, as far as like my early like appreciation of house was like some of the stuff from Cold Cut.
oh, sure.
And like Ninja Tune, and that was more electronica, but I appreciate a lot of the stuff on Ninja Tune and Cold Cut stuff.
Yeah, for sure. Like, how about the prototype, like, hip-hop site website? Who designed that? And, I mean, this must have been something that wasn't even, like, thought about in 1996, starting an online store, which was a catalog for music. I mean, you didn't really have a lot of stuff you could use as an example. How was it hard starting that first website?
Yeah, it was, I mean, basically, we were just kind of like, okay, we were like, what did we like about the source? Because the source was, I mean, the story with the source and how it, like, fell apart, but
Of course.
basically, we, once it was corrupted, we were like, okay, well, what did we like about it before it was corrupted? You know what I mean? So we basically just copied everything. We were like, okay, well, we'll do album reviews, we'll do single reviews, we'll do interviews, we'll do, so the difference will be that you can hear the music,
Yeah.
But then we said, well, okay, we'll do like news updates, we'll do, the best verse of the week, and actually prior to me starting the site, I was doing a lot of tape trading, which is a really crazy concept at this point, which is basically like sending tapes of music through the mail to other people on the internet, then they would send you one back, and doing that, like I amassed like a really crazy archive of unreleased hip hop like music, like all these like songs that never came out, like stuff that was never played on the radio, like stuff like that was never pressed on vinyl, like studio floor cuts,
Like Stretch and Babito era stuff, or?
Yeah, exactly. I have a ton of it. I mean, some of it's taped off Stretch and Bobbito. Then I have other stuff that's just, I don't know what the origin is, but like like the Wu-Tang Clan demo tape. I mean, and the thing is that a lot of it is out there now. I mean, if you really start digging, a lot of it's out there now because I was tape trading with other people, and then those tapes would eventually got encoded and
Yeah.
were uploaded. But yeah, I mean, I still have some stuff. I'm kind of been digging through those tapes to see what I could find and upload the hip hop site at this point because there are some things that I have here that aren't that haven't been like.
I'm sure you got a deep well of nuggets to unleash. I'm sure, but okay, yeah. After the site was up, then for a couple of weeks, how long did it take for you to amass a client base?
Actually happened like really quickly. We basically we went directly to Rec Music Hip Hop, which is the new. There was a Usenet news group, and we just started quote unquote advertising in there. And I mean, like it was so small that like it wasn't like people were like, "Oh, you're spamming," because people didn't even realize it existed. Like only like the nerdiest of like rap fans, which included myself, like knew of its existence. And I was a contributor to this thing. So people were just kind of like, "Oh, cool," and then like they just, and like it actually amassed traffic really quickly. But when it really, really got a ton of traffic is when we did Eminem.com, and then like we started selling like the Eminem T-shirts and basically M had kind of endorsed us in a way because we'd sold some shady EPs prior to like him being even looked at by Aftermath.
That's awesome. I never even heard of that, huh?
Yeah.
So you guys helped set up his website in the early days? Or?
Yeah, we did. Basically, like, prior to that even happening, I'd heard the buzz on Eminem and, because of Scribble Jam or wherever he was playing at the time or freestyling and winning all these battles. So I basically met him in a Motel 6 and bought CDs, like, off of him and tapes, like, basically, and he was just like, "Yo, can I come rap at your radio show?" At that point, I didn't even hear him. I just knew that there was a buzz, and like he was, Raucus was like looking at him or something,
Yeah.
And so I was like, oh, I don't know, I kind of like blew him off, And then eventually, after I got home, I heard it. I was like, oh, holy crap, this guy is incredible. And so basically, we sold a ton of his CDs and tapes on the site, and.
Did you guys ever have Infinite, the early demo Infinite?
No, I never had Infinite. Well, actually, we did get dead stock of Infinite later on. Like someone had found a bunch in a warehouse, and we got those. But yeah, it really started with some shady EP,
That's really cool. Yeah, I didn't even know that was like a symbiotic relationship there in the beginning. But
yeah.
How about the other? Oh yeah, you can go ahead. Go.
Oh, well, I was just gonna say there was a link on Eminem.com for a really long time,
Yeah, that's huge. I mean,
yeah.
And the other like retailers at the time, like were they friends or enemies?
Of us?
Yeah, like were you like friends with the other retailers? I mean, I'm sure there wasn't many or much competition for a couple years, right? It was pretty much just you guys. Or
yeah, there was us, there was Sandbox, Turntable Lab, and Underground Hip Hop. We had limited dealings with Underground Hip Hop, but he was actually like, I actually buy from them a lot now. I buy a lot of T-shirts and stuff. But yeah, he's been very cool. Turntable Lab, same thing. We did a couple collaborations, and then Sandbox we had very, very stiff competition with. Like it was because really there was a point where it was just us and them, and so basically it just became like a war. Like every week we kind of go up against each other and like try to like get the cooler promo item or the cooler,
Yeah, I was gonna say I remember like weighing in like who's got the better like freebie with the package deal or something. Sometimes with those two.
Yeah, and it was like, well, there's a whole bunch of like really funny, like behind the scenes things that would happen because it would be like, and a lot of times we would do it just because we just get a kick out of it because it would just be like, okay, let's like one of our most like, and it was really kind of fucked up when you think about it, but one of our most like craziest things we did, we were like, okay, we have this Atmosphere package, and we had a double 7-inch. It was like a double Sad Clown Bad Dub 7-inch, and so we were like, okay, like we were really strategic. We're like, okay, let's drop it. We'll put it on the site. We'll wait till like, you know, a 3-day weekend to put it on. You know what I mean? So then like, there's no way they can like. I think it was like Thanksgiving or something. We were like, okay, we'll put it on Thanksgiving. And we're like, that way, like Sandbox, they can't call the label and be like, yo, like we need to get something even better, you know?
Oh, smart.
And yeah, so we were like, okay, that's what we're gonna do, you know? And sure enough, like we get a call from Rhymesters the next day, and they'd be like, yeah, Sandbox called us on Thanksgiving. We were like having dinner with our families, and they were really pissed, and we.
That's great.
But, yeah, I mean, but you know what? Like, I don't have any like really ill will towards them. I know, like, I think I don't know how the owner feels about me at this point, if he even cares. But I know that like that war got pretty heated and pretty intense, and there was a lot of like really, you know, it got nasty at some points. You know what I mean? So I don't know, not at all.
Are they out of the East Coast or are they West Coast? Sandbox.
Yeah, they're up in New York, and they're still in business. So props to them, you know.
Yeah, that's true. Yep.
Kind of. No. We kind of. I mean, I suppose Hip Hop Site could still act as a retail outlet at this point, but we kind of got to the point when in 2007, when our lease was up at the record store, we just saw the trends of like the thing going downhill. It was like, oh man, this is just getting worse and worse, you know.
Yeah.
Especially with digital music, and we were just like, you know what, this isn't getting any better. Like, there's really no way for us to like, and we didn't, you know, we could have went into the clothing thing like underground hip hop did, but that's not why we were doing this. Like, we weren't doing this because we wanted to sell clothing. Like, we were doing this because we wanted to get behind good music, you know, and so basically we were just like, okay, this is a wrap, you know.
Yeah, it's like why stay on a sinking ship, but yeah, at the same time, did you ever think about starting a venue for Hip Hop Site to start like you know, bringing acts in and having them play at your venue or
I mean, in the early days, I like thought that would be a cool idea, but I mean, at this point, I'm kind of like indifferent towards it. I think.
Yeah, I got you.
You know.
Like, how about some important albums that really like helped you guys out early in the Hip Hop Site days, as far as getting people to just, you know, buy and buy and buy? So.
I'd say basically the entire. I don't know if I can pinpoint it to one album, but I'm sure if I really racked my brain, I could. But it really was the entire indie hip hop movement in general, because these were like records and CDs that, you know, local stores weren't even ordering. You know, your Best Buy and you know, somewhere in Middle America might be like, okay, dilated what? No, we don't even know what that is. You know what I mean? And so like, kids would be kind of quote unquote forced to order from someone like us because, you know, we had all the stuff that was like the breaking underground stuff, you know, and so that entire indie hip hop movement from I'd say 97 to 2007 is probably a pretty good
Oh, sure.
period of like time to like put under, you know, I mean, it's the indie hip hop movement's still there. It's just different now. At this point, there's a second movement, and now it's the digital movement, you know.
Yeah.
And now you're looking at, and it's more, and the artists are different. It's not a Stretch and Bobbito type of artist. It's more like the Double XL Freshman 12 or 10 or whatever.
Exactly.
Which is your Diggy Simmons and Kendrick Lamar and all
Yellow Wolf
all those new cats.
Yeah.
So basically, and they're not quite as. I no disrespect any of the artists, but it's a different kind of music. It's a little more. This is music that is, you know, more a generation of people that was raised on like Rough Riders and
they're out for Jay-Z, the stardom. Yeah.
Yeah, you know, they're raised on Jay-Z records, and you know, I'm not pigeonholing anybody here. You know what I mean? But I'm just saying that a lot of these artists are younger, and what they grew up on is different than what, you know, the the most F's in the
Yeah, the Lyricist Lounge era,
gallery.
right? Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So totally, but I'm sure that those guys also had an exposure to um, the indie hip hop movement as well, because I'm sure, and not to sound like conceited or anything, but I'm sure a lot of those guys like looked at hip hop site in their early.
Oh yeah, you couldn't sleep on that for at all.
Yeah, yeah.
But okay, I got a good one. How about the best in-store performance at the physical hip hop site store?
Well, we never really did the performance. It was always an autograph signing, but the best one we had was MF Doom, and we actually had Doom and Quali together. But the reason it was Doom was because it was just, first of all, I had to chase him down, okay?
Sure.
And now, so basically, like, I hadn't seen what Doom looked like without the mask since like the KMD days,
Yeah.
So basically, I'm going to like now. Let me back up here a second. Trying to get a rapper to do whatever you want him to do in Las Vegas is like the most impossible thing ever, because like a rapper comes to Vegas, like most of the time they're in like Colorado or somewhere, and they're just like, okay, I'm in my hotel, I'm gonna go do my show, I'm gonna go home, get on the plane. Vegas, it's like, oh wait, there's strip clubs everywhere, there's
distractions, yeah.
casinos, you can go to a club like at any time of the day, like there's beautiful women like everywhere, like they're just so trying to get them to come to your record store is like completely like an uphill battle. So basically, I'm on the phone with Doom's tour manager, and he's like, yeah, just come meet us down at the Tropicana. So I'm like, okay, cool. So then I'm like in the middle of the casino at the Tropicana, like looking for Doom,
Sure.
and I have no idea what he looks like. I hadn't seen what because if you remember when he was Zevel of X, he was like, kind of beanpole-ish,
Yeah, he had dreads and
so
skinny.
now so now he's, I think he had a high top fade, I can't remember, but basically at this point, which was probably 2004, he's like got a big pot belly and everything. So now I have to basically, but I've never seen him, at that age without the mask. So I'm looking for like a dude that looks like the skinny KMD guy, but has a big pot belly that I've never seen without the metal face on. You know what I mean?
A needle in a haystack,
So like
kind of.
yeah, exactly. So I'm just looking around this casino, and like miraculously I spot him, and I'm like, dude, and then like he's like, yo, I'm like, yo, I'm Pizzo from Hip Hop Site. Like we got this in store, and he's just kind of like, oh man, all right, let's go, So I take him to the in store, and we're sitting in the back room, and there's like the store is filled. Like there's like I've never seen a line like this. It's so many people there, like all these people. Back, and he's like, I don't really want to do it, man. But I'm like, yo, everyone's out here to see you. You have to come out. He's like, all right, and then he pounds one beer, and then he comes out and does this in store, and it was great. It was just like he puts a mask on and like does the in store. It was incredible.
Oh, that sounds awesome. Yeah. What era was that? Was that Mad Villain era or prior to that?
Yeah, it was just about that same year, I think.
Really cool.
2004-ish, probably 2004, 2005.
So now you're DJing at the Tryst in Vegas. How long have you been doing that and being a resident there?
I opened Tryst with let's see, 6 years ago. It'll be probably 6 years in January, I think. And it's kind of interesting. Dave Fogg was the main resident DJ there, along with Justin Hoffman. But Dave basically was a homie that we were actually in a remixing crew called the Inhumans, which we did a very popular mashup pressed on vinyl of 50 Cent versus 9 Inch Nails.
Yeah, that was huge, man.
And so basically Dave was like, hey, do you want to come and open for me, So I was like, yeah. So I started opening for him, and then they were like, oh man, this kid's really good. So they're like, do you want to open for Justin Hoffman as well? And I said, okay, cool. So I started opening for Justin. So then just opening for these guys, and then there was one night where somebody couldn't make it into work, and they were like, we want you to headline. I was like, all right. So then the rest is history. I became a headliner, and then they opened their second club, which is Excess, which is literally like the most extravagant club in the United States. I mean, it's ridiculous.
Nice, really
So
fancy.
now, yeah, so now I headline there, and I've actually brought, well, Dave and I both brought Warren in. So now Warren Peace. So basically, the whole family is still together. Like Dave Fogg, Warren Peace, Pizzo. We all are spinning together over at XS.
Cool, just a new
We've
setting.
always, it's just, we've always had each other's backs. Like, I mean, Warren's like totally, Dave as well is like, I learned a lot from Warren. He's like my mentor. Yeah, so basically, we always have helped each other out. We've always had each other's backs. And I mean, and it's not just a homie thing where you're like, oh, let's, put our less talented friends on. It was more of like, we have a mutual respect for one another and our respective talents. And, yeah, so basically everybody is still working together and,
Do you each have your own like style or your own like niche of music, or is it kind of common styles?
I'd say we all are a little bit similar. I mean, like, we all have our own, I'd say we kind of have our own style, like the way that we do it. Like when I play, I really just go for the jugular, like, and I try to keep the energy there the whole time. Warren is really heavy with, kind of like the, like effects and the hype, and like, he's very technical, and he's really amazing to watch. I personally think he's like the best DJ on the West Coast. I mean, like,
Nice.
And I mean, like, it's not really from a scratching ability. He's not like a super scratcher or anything. It's just his momentum and his, it's just the way he programs and like the way he's like in and out of things. It's just really amazing. And then Dave is, I'd say I'd describe his style as, he's very on the cutting edge, and he really, he can kind of like go off into deep space sometimes, you know what I mean? And
Yeah.
like, but I mean, like, it's dope. It's like, but he's very much like, he really understands things before they are like the cool thing, you know what I mean? Like, he really like picks up on stuff.
Sure. Do you ever like run into old heads from like hip hop site? Like I heard is Mighty My DJing down there too?
Yeah.
Or do you ever run into him?
He is. He actually, well, there's a separate company that runs two other clubs called Blush and Surrender, and Milo is, he is a main DJ at those clubs. Actually, I think they just closed Blush. I think they're going to reopen it or something. But Surrender, yeah, he's the main DJ there. You know what I mean? So yeah, it's crazy. Like, and actually, John Schechter, from who originally started the Source magazine and later went on to find game recordings. He's
sure.
over at Surrender too. So basically, yeah, it's like the whole Vegas hip hop scene has moved over to the Wynn and the Encore.
Yeah, you got to go where the people are paying. That's very true of life. So.
And Sheck actually made a really interesting comment to me. He was like, he's like, it's really crazy. He was like, at the beginning of, we were right there at the beginning of like Eminem and Dre and their careers like exploding,
Yeah.
And he's like, and now we're at the forefront of this house music thing with like Afrojack and Steve Aoki and, Calvin Harris, Deadmau5 and this scene like totally exploding. So it's kind of interesting because we've just at the forefronts of these musical scenes, Yeah,
it's a beautiful thing how life can be so long. You get to see all these, cycles come and go.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah, I was going to ask you about stuff that you're looking forward to as far as hip-hop releases, like for the fall of 2011, because I thought you'd be a good one to ask. Anything that you're thinking about right now that you're excited to see come out?
Yeah, I mean, I definitely, I really hope that Detox comes out this year, and I think that it will.
Really?
I'm thinking I think, they shot videos for it, so, I mean, when you shoot a video, that means, like, the label's ready to, like, get behind it and release it,
Yeah, that's a money suck, right?
Yeah, so basically, it's got to be, I mean, they can't, they can't keep that record under wraps for too much longer, especially since because they have to ride the buzz created by the videos, you know what I mean? Even if it wasn't that big,
Yeah.
So basically, I guess we'll see what happens with that. But I'm imagining that he'll do a Christmas release, and if not that, like a first quarter, you know.
Yeah.
But otherwise,
How about that new Evidence, Cats and Dogs? I'm really looking forward to that one myself.
yeah, the 27th of September is like packed with releases, and like you got J Live, SPTA, and you got Ninth Wonder.
Oh yeah, Ninth Wonder's got one. Yeah, cool.
J. Cole, he's one of the new MCs I really like. Cole World.
Is Cold World for sure coming out on the 27th?
Yeah, in fact, I think it already leaked.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, you'll be seeing that. You might even see that one earlier.
How did you feel about Jay-Z and Kanye beating the leaks?
I thought it was awesome. Like, I was like, that was really crazy how they did that. I don't know how they did that, but I was like, it's probably because they decided not to press CDs, you know, until later. But good for them, you know.
Yeah, that was really insane, but it was funny how they sold like a lot less than Lil Wayne, who it leaked like 2 weeks prior to it, but he still did what 900,000. Yeah.
I know. Well, I don't know. I guess it's just I can't really call that one, you know. Like,
it's more of a personality. You're buying a personality, not the music. I think for Wayne.
Yeah, I think so.
How about I saw Jedi Mind Tricks got a new release, and I was looking at the production credits. I'm not seeing Stoop on there. What's the deal with them? Do you know anything inside on that one?
Yeah, well, Vinny just released a statement kind of saying, like, you know, Stoop he's just not really feeling inspired by hip-hop production at this point, you know.
Oh, I got you.
And he did an album, okay, so basically, yeah, he did that album with that female vocalist. And I think that's kind of the direction he just wants to take his music, you know.
Gotcha, almost trip hop.
Yeah, you know. So basically, I think that.
How about the Godfathers? It's Cool G Rap with Necro. I was kind of interested in that and how he was able to land that one. That's pretty dope for Necro.
Yeah, so that's Necro and G Rap is going to be interesting because I've always looked at Necro as I know Necro is hugely influenced by G Rap, you know, and I've always kind of looked at them as having like Necro being the extreme of a G-Rap, you know what I mean? Like G-Rap taken to the very extreme, you know?
Yeah, I think that one's got to be interesting, so.
Yeah.
And how about the Mad Villainy 2? Any word on that? I know we've been waiting for a long time, but.
Oh, man, I don't know. Doom is so, like, it's crazy. He just seems like he's just in hibernation or something, you know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
Like, I seriously doubt we'd see that this year, but, you know.
Yeah, I know it's not Madlib because that guy kind of seems like a workaholic. You know, if he's not doing beats, he's doing a blend of intelligentsia or something. He's got, you know, his hand in everything. So I think it's got to be Doom who's, you know, taking time off to find himself or whatever. I don't know.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to another record. There's a couple other records on the 27th. Fonte from Little Brother. And then you got Blue has an instrumental album. DJ Shadow's got an album. I mean, like, there's all this stuff dropping on the 27th. And actually, I know why they're doing it. It's because they want to get it into, like, the end of this quarter. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
there's like, a certain cutoff point where you want to, like, release your album so that, you know, you can fit it into the quarter earnings or something. You know?
Yeah, I got you.
And I remember, like, in the retail days, there would be these huge release dates, and I'd be like, guys, just spread it out, because what happens is the kids start making choices. They start going, well,
that's true. Yeah.
I only got you know, $40 here, so I guess I'm just gonna have to, like, you know, skip DJ Shadow, or I'm gonna have to.
Yeah, it was like November 28th. He had about 7 albums dropping every November 28th. I remember.
Yeah, and I mean, it's just like, you know, and I mean, in one sense, it's good because you get people to the record store, you know, like maybe, you know, the kid who buys J. Cole picks up Evidence as well, you know.
Yeah, that's how it worked for me.
On the other token, it's bad because when you have like 8 high-profile releases at one time, like, you know. But I was thinking, like, if I had a little more time, I was thinking I would contact all these artists and get him to do a big posse cut called September 27th, and I'd get Ninth Wonder to produce it.
That would be dope. Yeah.
Maybe I'll still do it.
Drop it on Hip Hop Site, you know. All right, I got one more question for you, Pizzo. How are you feeling about this group, Odd Future, Wolfgang Kill Them All, and Tyler the Creator and stuff? I know they're getting a ton of hype. You know, he's appearing on the VMAs and everything. I just got the 2 albums. I got Goblin, and then I got the Mellow Hype Black and White album. You been hearing these, or how do you feel about these guys?
Yeah. You know, I think you know, it's cool. I mean, like, look, the thing is these guys kind of blew up on the internet like really quickly, and you know, their audience is younger. And you know, like, keep in mind, like, if you're 15 or 16 years old, you know, think about when you were 15 or 16 and what you heard that really shocked you and excited you, and you were like, you know, oh, this is, you know, I mean, you know, there's a generation that happened to with Eminem. There's a generation before that happened with NWA. You know what I mean?
Sure,
You heard something that was like so against the grain that you were like, this is unlike anything I've ever heard before. But, you know, I think to me it's kind of like, okay, yeah, this is cool, but yeah, I'm, you know, I grew up on all this other stuff that has kind of covered this stuff already. You know what I mean? Like Wu-Tang, you know.
Yeah, I'd say the jury's still out on them, but I mean, for their first couple of albums, they're pretty punk rock and something to at least write about and be interested about. So.
Yeah. So I mean, yeah, I think, you know, it's you know, with anything, like, you'll see the growth of the artists, and you know, it's either going to be great or it's just going to fade off into obscurity. You know?
Yeah, that's very true. All right, well, I think that's a good point to stop the interview here. I'd just like to thank DJ Pizzo one more time. You can find him at djpizzo.com. That's Pizzo, hiphopsite.com, and follow him at DJ Pizzo HHS. So, any last words?
No, man, I just appreciate you having me, and peace out.
All right, sounds good, Pizzo. We will talk to you. Stay in touch. And for Andy Dare and DJ Pizzo, signing off for the Andy Dare Show. Thank you so much for listening. Thank you so much for checking out the Andy Dare Show. Find us on the web at theandydareshow.com. You can like us on Facebook. That's facebook.com/theandydare show. Follow us on Twitter. That's @AndyDare. And see videos at youtube.com/AndrewMartinDare. Thanks again for listening. There will be a new episode every week for your listening pleasure.